and thanks for creating time. The previous speaker spoke a bit about what I'm going to speak to you about. And I was just joking with Harry and saying some of you are very aggressive because they've already started selling me an insurance policy, which is good because you are grabbing every opportunity. So looking at embedded insurers, and I tried thinking about how do you conceive or try to think about embedded insurers without thinking about technology. And having interacted with some of you, possibly have an advantage of knowing what you run at the back end. And when I visit some insurance company and I see where my policy is being hosted, I try to ask myself how safe my policy is, because some of you, sometimes you wake me up at the middle of the night saying that some systems have gone down, and we are very good in actually ensuring we never have a backup and we never have a DR, right? Sounds familiar? So enabling digital first instance, it is something that we have done as a company, as VMware. I work for VMware as a systems engineer, and my job is actually to advise you what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. And my spare time, I love farming, and more so, I love dogs, right? So let's proceed. Is it working? Oh, okay. So what is the insurance ecosystem? And a lot of times you try to think about what you interact with as an insurance company. There's quite a lot that is changing. And you look at even the products and the ecosystem that you deal with, it's quite wide. Now, in view of all this, how do you ensure that you're able to interact with your customers and still remain relevant? And you'll actually agree with me that even from the previous speaker, you can see it's leading to digital transformation. So how do you continue being relevant to your customer? So nowadays, I can't remember the last time I visited my bank. Actually, I'm able to do all my transactions on my phone. As an insurance company, are you able to do the same with your customers? Or you still continue chasing them with the phone calls? When are you going to sign this policy? When am I going to meet with you? Can you make it easier for me to consume your products at the comfort of my desk? Like, I give a very good life example. There's this one guy who has been chasing me for the last few months. And every time we want to meet, I'm on a business trip or either I'm on an event. Yesterday he called me, wants us to meet today in the morning. We can't meet because I'm in an event. After this event, I'm in a customer meeting. When do we meet? It's not that I don't want to consume his product, but because he's still glued to the old way of doing things. So within your ecosystem, how are you able to transform how you interact with your customers? So you can only do that if you actually embrace digital transformation. There's a value chain for insurance company. And if you look at how you interact with customers and how you interact with the different solutions or different industries, there needs to be a way of actually making sure that you do not get glued to traditional channels. You need to embrace digital channels, alternative channels. And that's why I'm talking about embracing technology. And most of the applications that you have in the environment, they're actually still very rigid in terms of ingesting new ideas. And that's why, as a technology company, we're actually partnering with most of the companies to ensure that we give you a platform to actually reinvent yourself and develop products that you can actually be able to change on the fly and ensure that you actually be able to remain relevant to your customers. The pandemic finally accelerates insurance innovation. So most of us will agree that after the pandemic, we no longer transact the same. I can testify after the pandemic, I can actually count the number of times I've been to the office. Actually, I don't need to be in the office. We have an office that I hardly visit. I do not need to be there. So the same thing applies to even to your customers as well. Those customers that you've been targeting, chances are you do not meet them the same way you used to meet them. So most probably it calls for a different channel of meeting those customers. How prepared are you to ensure that you actually meet them where it is relevant and at the point that is convenient with them? You cannot do it with the traditional way of doing things. You cannot do it by calling them and booking meetings, because sometimes I cannot remember the last time I was in traffic for 2 or 3 hours. It actually hurts me. So if you call me for a meeting, either we are meeting in city center, by 6 in the morning, by 7 I'm out. Any other time, I can't make it. Purely because I cannot afford to waste my 2 hours in traffic. So how prepared are we? So am I able to utilize the channels that are actually available and digital way to make sure that we're able to meet those customers? The previous slide was talking about Generation Z. They do not want to come to the office. They do not want to meet you the same way. They do not want to have the same conversation. Are you able to use mobile devices to reach them? Are you able to use digital channels to meet them? Are you able to embrace new payment models to actually ensure that it's efficient? Are you also able to actually embed or close different products or partner with different providers? Like, for example, in banking industry, yes, I've been banking with certain bank, but are they aware about my buying behavior? Are they aware about my lifestyle? At this age, possibly my requirements have changed. And that's where we talk about embedded insurance. How prepared are we, right? Insurance industry is facing increased disruption. As I've said, it is becoming imperative to make sure that we change with times. If at all you don't change with times, we remain irrelevant, and we find ourselves actually not even being able to have those conversations. As I've said, when I check back on what you have in your data centers, actually, it is a sorry state. How innovative are we? Some of you, I know there's someone who was mentioning, they are busy trying to develop an application. Most applications are monolithic applications. And what I mean with that is actually they are coded the traditional way. It becomes a problem. Are you embracing platforms that allow you to actually change contents of the code on the fly? If, for example, tomorrow maybe a specific customer requirement comes in, how fast can I be able to change my application to actually cope with that? Or either a particular vulnerability has been noticed, how am I able to respond to that? Are we able to do that with our platforms, right? There is a lot of business impact, and most of the time you find our platforms do not allow us to possibly embrace different changes that are coming in our environment. So if possibly I may ask, how many of you have actually transformed your data center to a point where you have decoupled your systems from physical environment? So a lot of times when I move into your data centers and I see physical servers, I feel pain, because having noticed how much pain you cause with downtimes, lack of availability, poor utilization of resources in those data centers. And that's why you cannot be able to innovate, because every time you go back to the business asking for more budget, the answer that you always get is a big no. Why? Because the amount of hardware that you have, amount of technology that you have in a data center, it is not actually transforming or either translating to saving or additional revenue in your organization. So look at it in terms of maybe when you're asking for a server and the type of proposal that you have in place. I need a server. What for? To run an application. To do what? A lot of times it does not translate to immediate business impact. If at all we change the conversation, I need to upgrade my data center because we are transforming the environment to allow our salespeople to be able to interact with people who are coming from universities who cannot come to our office because they actually need to use mobile devices. And we are going to tap into millions of customers. Immediately you get an approval, right? And we can be able to do all that by ensuring that we also embrace an OpEx model of IT. So most of you have seen in the market, there's coming of hyperscalers, right? Like of AWS, or Google. How prepared are we, right? And for your information, some of those hyperscalers are opening data centers here in Nairobi. It is happening. So some of the transformation projects that we are doing with some of your customers and some of the companies is evacuating data center into hyperscaler space. So we need to embrace that type of digital transformation to ensure that we now start interacting with those other channels that we need to clothe our insurance policies. We get more creative. Someone was talking about the matatu industry, right? So how prepared are we to ensure that we do not only give third-party insurance policy to those matatus, but also they carry customers. So those customers that are normally carried by those matatus, how are we able to get creative? When they are selling their tickets, can they possibly clothe with an insurance policy, right? That's how creative you can get. But if the only thing that I can do is to always holding a cable on a server so that doesn't go off, when will I be able to think about innovation? You don't have time for innovation. So that's why we are saying you need to think about digital channels, you need to think about innovation, you need to think about availability, whereby when I'm sleeping at night, I do not think about data center. The environment is up and running. To date, I cannot remember the time that I had to call our support guys because the systems are not working. I do not know even where the data centers are running from. We are actually a team of 6 guys. I don't interact with the IT guys in the organization. We are actually more than 60 guys in Africa. We do not know how our systems are running. Why can't we run our IT systems the same way? The other part that we have is about security as well. We need to extend security even to the sales team to ensure that whatever access they have over the systems, we also be able to go all the way to backend and ensure that in case they lose the devices that they're accessing the application from, we do not compromise the data that we have in that environment, right? How value chain for insurance impacts IT. So a lot of times, and this happens not only in IT, any initiative that is brought by the organization, it starts another process within IT environment. For example, if you're told like we need to initiate an application or have an application for Generation Z, what process does it initiate in the backend? Most of the time in IT, we actually end up being resistant and saying it's not possible. The challenge that I always give IT guys, are we able to be ahead of the business in terms of innovation? The business always needs to be trying to catch up with us, but the other way is true. So you're always trying to catch up with the business instead of the business trying to catch up with you. It is not ever going to work. And that's why, if you ever notice, most of the IT guys, either they have a bald head or they always shave all their hair. Have you ever noticed that? Have you guys ever noticed that? Why? Someone is demonstrating exactly what they always do. Because the server is not coming up for one reason or the other. Yeah? The server is not coming up, and you can't explain why. And a lot of times, I don't know whether you guys have experienced this, whenever you're troubleshooting, and I know this happens, you always go from bad to worse. Yes? Yeah? Why does that happen? Why does that one happen? Can I explain to you why that happens? Yeah? The reason why that happens is because when troubleshooting, we do a lot of guesswork, right? We do not know what is happening. So I'm first of all guessing what is really the issue. By the time I'm noticing where the issue is most probably at around 10 at night, right? And then the MD is on your case saying, by the way, because we were able to access the systems in the morning, can you try and return the systems where they were so that at least some guys can be able to work? What normally happens to the IT guy? You turn red, right? So basically that's why when you embrace the way of doing things, it allows you to have an insight of what is happening in the environment. And you can now become innovative in your environment. You can now be able to bring in new products. You can be able to tell where exactly do I have performance issues? Why are my applications misbehaving? And also, what exactly is happening on this particular product that we're pushing in the market, and how are our users consuming that product? How are they interacting with the product? And also, now that this product that we have is working, can we possibly replicate the same in other areas? Or either, can we introduce new innovation in that environment? And also, be able to respond to the business. All those processes that are actually initiated, how fast can you be able to respond? So I see a lot of guys, whenever you're talking to them, it's like you run out of ideas. Why? Because the environment backend, you're the only one who knows exactly what is happening. And those spaghetti cables that are in the data center, right? Yeah. So a lot of times the insurance initiatives, they actually start another process within the IT environment. It is not going to be possible if at all we still remain in the rigid environment that we have, archaic environment that we have. We have to innovate. And there are a couple of initiatives that we drive as VMware that I'll be sharing with you to help you be able to see where do I start innovating my environment, where do I start changing a couple of things, and what innovation technology do I embrace to allow us be the spearheaders when it comes to innovation within the environment. Also, the other part that we are seeing, are we able to embrace digital channels to actually be able to interact with our customers, deliver those products, and also be able to change those products on the fly, improve components with those products, enrich those products as well. Gone are the days when the only thing that you're selling me is education policy or insurance policy, right? And more so, I have an issue with the insurance companies because there is one car that I had to sell just because it was an old car and you have to say that you can't insure it, right? So as a customer, I feel somehow frustrated because you're not able to speak to my needs and you're not able to converse with me just because of a policy that has been defined by someone that you cannot think how creative you can get. Then also, as a customer, you do not know my needs in a much better way just because you're not embracing AI and machine learning, right? So all those components, and they were there on the previous slide, how are we embracing those technology components to ensure that we remain relevant to our customers, right? So also different and efficient channels of distribution. So most of us are actually familiar with, they call it agent banking, right? So how prepared are we to actually formulate the same as insurance companies? Do we still need to continue employing so many salespeople? How many are you going to employ to reach out to many customers, right? It will get to a point where you cannot continue employing. So you have to remain innovative. Can we possibly have each and every mobile subscriber becoming an agent? I can become an agent to myself if I have an access to the application. I can sell to myself. Instead of you employing someone to come and sell to me, it will cost you nothing other than a mobile application. It will cost you nothing other than a digital application I can subscribe to and be able to see what products that you have to offer. And most probably also make it easier for me to subscribe to your services as well, right? Also being cost efficient as well. So how do I make sure that the products are cheaper? Well, most of the time they become expensive because of underlying a cake product that you have, or product that you have, or technology. And also you're not able to also get creative in terms of pricing of your solutions. So the only way we can be able to do that is by actually transforming our environment, embracing new ways of technology, having developers that can actually be able to develop applications on the fly. Cloud native applications. How many of us are embracing cloud native applications? Very few. We have platforms. You do not need to buy massive server environment to embrace cloud native applications. Most hyperscalers have an environment where you can go in, have an environment, do a development of applications, and port them back to your environment. What is happening in most IT environments? Developers with their laptops, you do not even understand what they are coding in there, embracing some open source tools, and when they publish applications, expose your data center. That's why hacking is the in thing in this country. You try to fix that issue, you're buying and investing a lot of money in security solutions, which are piecemeal, and they always get hacked, right? So embrace a new way of doing things. Consume already available platform. Focus on your business, not on IT. Those big rack cabinets, they're no longer fashionable. So get into a server room and you have massive AC systems and all those noisy servers, no longer fashionable. How much can I be able to do within that environment? I can't remember the last time I got into a data center. I'm in IT. I don't get into a data center. Why the hell are you still glued to a data center? Come out of the data center, think innovation, think about how to digitize your environment, think about how to embrace new way of doing things, right? So I want to move a bit faster because there's what I want to focus on. So you can see there's a lot of processes that get initiated whenever the business thinks of any innovation or any product. So how prepared are we to ensure that we have that? So mapping our value to industry challenges. So as VMware, there are a couple of initiatives that we are driven, although I don't want to dwell on that because I'll be sharing those slides, but there's something that I wanted to share with you. So response to disruption with 5 pillars of digital insurance. So we have responded to digital insurance in different ways. Ensuring, number one, security is key. Everything that we do, including the data center, cloud environment, security is key. Ensuring that applications only speak to applications that they're supposed to speak to. And regardless of where those applications are hosted or are being deployed from, they actually work with the security. So I always ask, like for example, I was having a conversation with a customer who were evacuating their application from on-prem to island data center, and you're supposed to move those applications again to South Africa. So I asked one question. If you are to secure those applications, are you going to deploy a physical firewall? I said, no. So what are you going to do? Possibly you might deploy a physical firewall. That is in Ireland. That's where these applications are running from. And because of latency, we have to move the applications to South Africa. So are you going to go again, move the physical firewall from Ireland to South Africa? It can't work. So it calls for a different way of securing those applications. And that's where now cloud computing and software-defined network, software-defined security comes in handy. So as IT specialists, we need to embrace those new technologies. Otherwise, the physical systems that we embrace might not work, right? So as VMware, we have a lot of innovations, And the three areas that I want us to focus on are end user compute environment. As sales team or as insurance guys, am I able to access applications from any device from anywhere? It doesn't matter what devices I have. So I'm showing you my mobile device. If I go to my laptop, exactly the same interface. It is an iPhone, but if I go to a Windows machine, exactly the same. Security, paramount within that environment. I only access what I've been allowed to access within the organization. And that happens on the fly. Are you able to do the same with your sales team? You can answer yourself. The other part is about where do those applications get hosted, right? It doesn't matter where those applications are being hosted. I can be hosted on-prem, it can be hosted on Safaricom data center or hyperscaler. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that am I able to transform my environment from CapEx to OpEx? It's not about how big servers I have in my environment. Procurement processes are lengthy within our organization. Do I possibly continue the normal procurement process, or I transform my environment to an OpEx model and ensure that I'm able to consume IT or deliver the services at the speed of the business? Number three is about security. Security is key. If at all I'm deploying my applications and I cannot secure my customer data, it is as good as useless, right? And that's why as IT guys, I gave that analogy, we're always scratching our head. Why? Because the backend has an issue. We hardly have high availability, and more so, I don't know whether it is a curse, most IT guys never do backups, right? Yes. And I've received calls from guys, and having worked with VMware, now close around 8 years, and someone calls me and tells me, listen, someone deleted a virtual machine from my environment. I normally tell them a very good answer, I cannot do a miracle. I'm sorry, it is gone and gone forever. If you don't have a backup, there's nothing much I can do, right? Kindly, guys, ensure that we're able to embrace right technology to ensure that we also deliver value to our organization. So I'm available to walk the journey with you. I'm reachable. The bulk of my time I spend with customers. Most of you are my customers, and I don't shy away from coming and sitting down with you and helping you walk the journey, transform your environment, and ensure that you have a sleep. Spend time with your family, stop sleeping with the servers. Sounds good? Thank you.